Right, so we've got Helen joining us today.
Oh, nice.
Hello.
Bring you before.
So we've got a new month. Hiya, I know. So a new month and new theme. So the theme for July is summer. So it's a very broad theme. So however if you want to use that as a theme, however you want to interpret that. I thought I'd do something a little bit seaside-y. I thought I'd perhaps use that image. And perhaps just do a little bit of figure drawing, because I've not done any of that for a while. So I'll use that one for this afternoon. A couple of things to mention. So I've got Lee Art Trail coming up, which will start on Saturday, and it's on for a week. So I've got all the dates there. 5th to 13th, and obviously we've got loads of art throughout the town.
Oh yeah, let's try and go to that.
Yeah.
Do you have anywhere the programme of where everyone is going to be, all the art
Yes.
is going to be?
Yeah, I've got some here, so
Oh, lovely.
if you want a map, I've got maps.
Also, it's online as well. I found one,
It is
and it's
online,
like
yeah.
I think it's like an interactive type effort, so you can click on it
That's it,
and sort of
yeah.
see what it looks like. What does that house look like? It's one of the random ones.
Yeah, that's it. There's a lot more detail online, a lot more information online. But I've got plenty of these. Well, I've got this mount here, but if you do come to any of the venues, they should have these here, so you can pick one. And so, yeah, going around the town, there should be like boards outside the shops that have got the art trail on, so you should be able to sort of find them easy enough. So if you want one of those, please help yourself.
I've seen people setting it up. Someone setting it up.
I'll be doing that tomorrow.
Oh, you do it tomorrow?
Yeah. As part of the art trail, we all kind of donate a piece or some sort of service or a piece. So this one is painting art I'm donating to the auction for the art trail. So if anybody wants to buy this painting, they can put in a bid. I've got cards there. Sometimes they've got quite a bit of money, sometimes I've had no interest whatsoever. So it's difficult to tell. So if you're interested, feel free to put in any bid that you want to. So that's that one. And what happens then is the money goes towards next year's art trail and all the publicity for next year's art trail. So that's that bit. I've also brought in greetings cards, so I was printing them up for the art trail, so I thought I'll bring some in anyway. So if anybody wants any greetings cards, I've got plenty of them there. Anything else? I think that's the main things to mention. Oh yeah, dates. So yeah, our class, I mentioned this last week, but we've got 3 weeks in July, this being one of them. So the last session will be the 17th of July, and then I'll start back on the 21st of August. I'm going to take 4 weeks break, and I'm perhaps having a break in in September as well. I might try and take a week or so in September. But yeah, I'm going to have a 4 week break in the summer. And on Sunday, we've got a plein air painting session or drawing session just around at the end of the High Street there, Crooked Billet, outside the Crooked Billet. So it's a mixture of Lee Art Trail and Southend Plein Air Group. So 3 sessions, anybody can come along. I'll bring some materials for anybody who hasn't got anything and wants to just do a bit of sketching or something. But otherwise, bring your sketching gear or your painting gear if you fancy taking part in that. So it's usually on for about an hour and a half. So that's a session on Sunday. Good, so let's move those out of the way. I was thinking I hadn't really done much in the way of drawing people for a while. But that was this morning's one, which is a bit more complicated. This one's slightly more straightforward. So I thought I'd do perhaps a demo, and when I think of summer, I just think of the seaside. So I'll do a seaside theme for mine. I think there might be a seascape theme coming up sometime in the next couple of months. It might be, August, I think it's seascapes. But there's other things for August too. So, but I thought I'd just more concentrate on figures. So really, we're drawing people. I think I started this. Let's just check. Okay. Yeah, that's good. So I usually just try and plan out where I want to draw. So I usually start fairly lightly. I'm really using the red. So these are my kind of working outlines, thinking lines. I'm thinking perhaps her head would be about there, and body there. what you could do is if you wanted to measure this, you could think, well, perhaps that's the bottom of the hairline about there, top of the head there. If I wanted to measure that, I could then see how many times that fits in there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about nearly 7. So it depends where you choose to measure. If I draw down to a hairline, perhaps about there, I could measure that down. So that's, yeah, that should end about where I'm intending, hopefully. So it's quite nice to start fairly loosely and not commit myself too much. Then I've got a bit more room to adjust. And then once I've got that, she's got her head very slightly on a tilt, so just try and get a little bit of an angle through there. The shoulders about there. I would say that her weight is fairly evenly distributed. Yeah, she's got a weight on both feet, so I think her spine in the middle of her body is going to be like that. And then once I've got that in, I just would almost like draw a kind of skeletal figure or a stick figure. Think of hips. So yeah, torso is going to be something like that. Hips coming out here. Again, I could use the measuring and you see three. So to get down to about the level of a shirt, it's about 3 of those. And that is probably about where I'm intending that to be. And then the legs can be just angled in very slightly, something like that. So that will complete a stick figure. And then once I've got that, I then draw in a bit more, just refine the shapes, draw in a little bit more detail. So she's got her hair up, like that. Her ear is about here. Part of that is shadow in there. And neck's coming down to there. So basically just start at the top and work my way down. There. I think actually, yeah, that shoulder is slightly higher, which I noticed before. I think she's got her arm on her hip, so that's raising that shoulder a little bit higher there. And then working, just basically kind of work my way down, a little bit one side, a little bit the other. I don't know if you can see it.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm blocking the key.
You're not at all understand the sort of place as well.
You could look at things like maybe where this elbow is in relation to that elbow. So that one's actually quite a lot higher. So it's kind of scanning left to right. See one bit in relation to the other. So that one could be higher. This one could probably come down a little bit more then. This one, like that. Another thing that's worth looking at is, as well as the shape of the arm, this little shape in here, that little bit of sort of negative space, or the shapes of the spaces between things. So if I look at that, that will help me to get the shape. If I look at this shape, it helps me to get the shape of the arm right. That's curving around there a little bit. Then coming out a little bit here. Like that. The bottom's about there. Very tiny gap there. Just kind of working my way down the sides, and then it's coming further down. There's a little bit more space between the calves. And then nice and easy for feet because they're buried in the sand. Not too complicated at all. Worry about that. Yeah, so that's how I go about drawing something like that. And then if I wanted to draw the other figures, I could then think, well, actually his head is more or less just under the height of her elbow. I've gone a bit wrong there actually with the height. Oh no, that's probably about right, isn't it? or maybe that's got to be a tiny bit higher. There's a little bit of difference in height there to there. But yeah, his head perhaps comes in about there. Look at how much space. Say where his shoulders are, perhaps roughly about there. Once you've got one bit drawn, you can then relate the other bits and positions. So that's one of the keys to sort of drawing anything really, is drawing something and then relating the other bits to it. And things like the landscape around or the seascape around, I always find that quite, in terms of drawing, it's easier to pop that in afterwards, because I can then think, well, this bit of surf, or whatever you want to call that, is roughly about up to about there, and then these big waves in the background kind of coming in about here. So it's going to be a lot easier to pop those bits in there.
Question.
Yep.
You know, like the first bit you found was the head
Yeah.
and the distance top to
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah.
Do you personally, out of curiosity, go back and use that length, like, okay, sideways, where's like the side of the
Yeah.
little boy, if you just keep using that length all
Yeah.
the time?
Yeah, that would be the best thing to do. Pick something like that, and then use that as a unit of measurement.
But do you do that when
Yeah.
you're drawing?
Yeah, I would do. Yeah.
You do that, yeah.
Yeah. And if I was drawing, say, buildings or something like that, I might pick something up that the width of a window, and then how many of those would fit across.
Yeah. So
but
whatever it is that stands out to you, maybe.
Yeah, just something that stands out. It needs to be sort of big enough. If you would pick something really minute, like
Yeah,
if I
that's
pick the
what
button
Yeah.
as
that's
the
really
unit of
good.
measurement,
Yeah.
I could measure it forever, and I'll just lose me way really. So it needs to be something that's, big enough that I can sort of think, well, 4 or 6 that way, maybe 4 that way, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be a good thing. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily then use that as well, because if you get too many different things you're relating things to,
You wouldn't use one.
well, I mean, you could say use that as a measurement, or I could use the width of that head as a measurement. But I would just pick one. Yeah, just pick one. So if I wanted to see how much space across here, I could use that and go 1, 2, and 3 across there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good way to think. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever you fancy.
Did you bring any, I was looking on my phone, have you brought any summer scenes?
I've got a few, just a few bits. It's more the collection I've got, and
Yeah.
I brought a few kind of seascapey ones
Yeah.
that if
Or
you fancy
go
something like
outside.
that.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything that's just on a summer theme really, so it's just looking at what I think would suit. But it could be all sorts of things. It could be like gardens, anything that you associate with summer.
Yeah. I did wonder whether to draw an ice cream van, then I saw the one was parked up against
Yeah.
or something, a vehicle, not the same.
Yeah, any sort. Okay.
Do you think you fancy doing
Right,
that?
okay, let's stop this here.
Anyway.